Bonjour, it's Jennifer, your French teacher in the south of France. And if you've been studying all of those French translations, French tenses, there are a lot of them, I have a fun exercise for you today. We are going to look at 12 different sentences in English, and I'm going to get you to identify the tense that's being used or that should be used in French, and then we'll translate them together. Numéro 1. So here's your sentence in English. Camille is getting bread at the bakery. So she is getting bread. What tense is that? Let's hear it. Ok, oui, c'est le présent. C'est le présent. Alors, Camille prend du pain à la boulangerie. Camille prend du pain à la boulangerie. Très bien. Allez, numéro 2. How about this one? She was learning to ski in the Alps. She was learning. What does that tell you when you see was with a verb and ing on the back of it? Okay, that tells you this is l'imparfait. L'imparfait. Donc, elle, she, was learning, elle apprenait à skier dans les Alpes. Bien sûr, vous pouvez dire elle apprenait à faire du ski dans les Alpes. Dans les Alpes. Très bien. Numéro 3, déjà. You will never travel abroad if you don't have a passport. Now, this is also a C clause, so you have two tenses to deal with. Look, we have you will never travel. So the will travel, you need to think about what tense to use. So you will never travel abroad if you do not have a passport. So what tense is that? Yeah, this is a first conditional C clause. So in the first part, we're going to use le futur simple. Tu ne voyageras jamais. Now here you have your negation, never, right? Tu ne voyageras jamais à l'étranger si tu n'as pas de passeport. So that's just the simple present tense. Remember what that means. You will never travel abroad if you do not have a passport. Abroad is à l'étranger. Allez, numéro 4. We have never been to Greece. You have to think about this one maybe. We have, because look, you have the word have, the verb have, but then you have the word been. D'accord? So what are you going to do with that? We have never been to Greece. Well, ça, c'est le passé composé. We have never been to Greece. Now look, maybe I should have said we have never gone to Greece, because that's what my translation looks like. Nous ne sommes jamais allés en Grèce. Pardon, avec un S. Nous ne sommes jamais allés en Grèce. Oui, donc c'est le passé composé. Here you have your helping verb, which is the verb être, and your past participle, aller, and we have to make agreement with nous, which is plural, by adding an S. D'accord? Okay, and notice there in the passé composé, the placement of negation. The ne comes before the helping verb, and jamais goes after the helping verb and before the past participle. Allez, numéro 5. She had already gone to bed. She had already gone to bed. So what we need to look at here is the had gone to bed. And I want to underline gone to bed because it's all part of the verb. D'accord? So what tense is this? Well, when you see the word had followed by a past participle, that's your clue that you need le plus que parfait, the plus perfect, le plus que parfait. So you can choose here either to use the reflexive verb se coucher, or you can choose to use the verb aller au lit. D'accord? Either one is fine, but it doesn't matter whether you're using a reflexive verb or the infinitive aller. They both take être as a helping verb. So le plus que parfait, we're going to actually follow the passé composé rules, right? But the helping verb, look, you see what tense the helping verb is? That is the imperfect. And then you follow it up with your past participle. And all of a sudden, instead of being the passé composé, it's the plus que parfait. So instead of saying she went to bed, now it means she had gone to bed. And look, the already, déjà, I just put it in between the helping verb and the past participle. Oui? Très bien. Allez, numéro 6. Do you think we should leave? Do you think we should leave? So, yeah, you see the verb leave here, right? But let's not forget what comes right before it. Should leave. And so should give you a big indication as to which tense you need to use, as well as the verb that you need to use. Do you think we should leave? Ça, c'est le conditionnel présent. Le conditionnel présent. Okay, because you know there's also a past conditional. This is the present conditional, so it does not require a helping verb. Tu penses, now of course this first verb, do you think, that's just the present tense, right? But do you think that we should leave? Nous devrions, that's the verb that needs to be conjugated. Nous devrions partir. So when you see the word should, not should have, just should, remember two things. The verb devoir and the present conditional. D'accord? So it's not the verb leave, partir, that you need to conjugate. Okay, numéro 7. I want you to do the dishes. So I want you to do the dishes. And so here's the part you need to, that I really want you to focus on, to do the dishes. Of course, you also need to conjugate this verb. I want you to do the dishes. What do you think about the do, to do the dishes? What tense should that be in? Ça, c'est le subjonctif présent. So the first verb, I want, that's just the present, right? Je veux. Now, I want you to do the dishes. So I want that you do the dishes in French. And so this second verb here is the verb faire, but it's in the present subjunctive, because just because I want you to do the dishes does not mean that the dishes are going to be done. Okay, le subjonctif présent. Numéro 8, he should have learned to drive. Now, we talked a minute ago about when we see the word should. And remember the two things I told you about should. I want you to remember those two things, but now let's take into account that it's not just should, but it's should have. And don't be confused when you see learned, right? This is not the verb that needs to be conjugated, okay? This is the verb that needs to be conjugated, and in which tense? Ça, c'est le conditionnel passé. So when I told you not to overthink this learned, because that's a past participle in English, but look, in French it's not. It's just the infinitive, apprendre. Pourquoi? Well, look, you already have a past participle. This is the past participle of the verb devoir. Oui? And now that we're in the past conditional, we're not saying il devrait. That would be he should learn to drive. Now we want to say he should have learned. So we have to put the verb devoir in the past conditional, follow the passé composé rules. So that means devoir takes avoir as a helping verb. But look, we're going to put the helping verb in the present conditional, followed up by the past participle of the verb devoir. Il aurait dû apprendre à conduire. Numéro 9. Know that I will always be here for you. You have a few verbs in here. The main focus is the verb know. And of course, you have to think, am I going to use connaître or am I going to use savoir? Think about that and then tell me, what tense is this? Know that I will always be. So you also have that verb in there, will be here for you. All right, so which tense will you use for know? Ça, c'est l'impératif, right? Because you're giving a command, okay? Know this. And this is the verb savoir, because this is information that I want you to know. So I'm not going to use connaître. When it has to do with information, I use savoir. This is an irregular verb in the imperative. sache. And I've chosen to put it in the tu form just so that you can remember that in the imperative tu form, the verb savoir, you have to leave the S off. D'accord? And that's specific to l'impératif. Sache que je serai toujours là pour toi. So know that I will always be here for you. So look, in English, just remember this always is going to go in a different spot than toujours in French, because this is a short common adverb. So we're going to place it right after that conjugated verb. Je serai toujours là pour toi. Serai is the verb être in the futur simple. If you wrote, or if you thought je serai toujours ici pour toi, because ici is here, just know that very often in French we use là instead of ici to mean here. Okay, numéro 10. We will have arrived before dinner time. We will have arrived. So we see the word will. Well, that tells us we're in the future already. But it's not we will arrive before dinner time. Look, we will arrive, that would have just been the futur simple. But you see how now I have a past participle involved? This means I'm talking about something in the future, like tomorrow, okay? But it's something that will have happened in the past once we get to the future. You know, we will, by the time dinner time comes around tomorrow, we will have arrived. So what tense is this? This is le futur antérieur, the future perfect, le futur antérieur. So what we need to do, again, we're following the passé composé rules. You see how you have arrivé, your past participle. Arriver is a verb that calls for être as the helping verb, right? But look what we've done with the verb être. We have put it in the futur simple. You see that? And all of a sudden, we're in the futur antérieur. We will have arrived avant l'heure du dîner. Allez, numéro 11. Just two more. Numéro 11. They had just opened a restaurant. They had just opened a restaurant. So what we're looking at here is just opened. Okay? Just opened. And I want you to also think about had just opened. Okay? What happens when something just happened? This is in the past, right? But does it really call for the passé composé? No. And don't be thrown off by had, because many times we see had and then opened, and you think, I've had, I have a past participle, that's got to be the plus que parfait. In theory, yes, but now we have this word just in here. Well, that is a game changer, because now if something just happened, that means it's in the recent past. Le passé récent. D'accord? So what we're doing is we're just using the verb venir, and it's followed by de. The de is very important, and an infinitive. Il venait, and you can use the word juste for a little emphasis, but you don't have to put it there. Il venait d'ouvrir un restaurant. Ou il venait juste d'ouvrir un restaurant. So once again, just because you see the word had followed by a past participle, don't automatically jump to the conclusion that you need the plus que parfait. If the word just in there, it means it's the recent past. D'accord? Now, if I wanted it to say they, if I had left this word had out of there, right? They just opened a restaurant. Well, that would be different. That would be ils viennent juste d'ouvrir un restaurant. Just in case you were thrown off by the word had. So they just opened a restaurant. I'm going to use the present tense form of venir. They just did it. But if they had just done it at some point in the past, well, then that's when we put venir in the imperfect. Comme ça. D'accord? And I did that on purpose so you could see the had, because I know that that's confusing sometimes. Okay, look, this is the last one. I'm surprised that you have visited China. I'm surprised that you, so of course we need the am, right? That you have visited China. What do you think have visited? What tense should that be in? Let's keep in mind, je suis surpris ou je suis surprise. This is an expression of, it's an emotional expression, right? And so when you have an emotional expression followed by que, and you need the que, right? Because I am surprised that you have visited China. I know we don't need the word that, but if you can put it in there in English, then you definitely need it in French. When we have this, that means that we're introducing, the next part has to be in the subjunctive, right? It's because of the emotional expression. Now here, that you have visited China, you see, that's in the past. So we have to use the past subjunctive. Again, I'm repeating myself, but I'm doing this on purpose. We're following the passé composé rules. So you have your past participle of visiter. Oui, visiter. Visiter takes avoir as a helping verb, right? In the passé composé. But look what we've done with the verb avoir. We have put it in the present subjunctive. Je suis surprise ou je suis surpris que tu aies visité la Chine. Donc, voilà, c'est tout pour aujourd'hui. I hope you enjoyed this little name that tense exercise. Merci, à bientôt.